Ted Bundy, the charismatic monster. Imagine meeting someone who seems perfect, a charming smile, polite manners, a good sense of humor. They even help strangers with car trouble. Now, imagine that same person secretly stalking women, waiting for the right moment to take their lives. How could someone like that exist? And worse, how could they go unnoticed for years? Welcome to Plunge into Crime. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most terrifying and perplexing criminal cases in American history, Ted Bundy. A man whose name has become synonymous with evil. But his story is far from simple. This isn't just about his crimes. It's about deception, manipulation, and how appearances can be devastatingly deceiving. Let's start at the beginning, where Ted Bundy's mask of normalcy first began to slip. Early life and the mask of normalcy. Ted Bundy was born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont. His early life was anything but ordinary, though it might have looked normal from the outside. Ted was raised by his grandparents, who he believed were his parents for most of his childhood. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, was introduced to him as his older sister. Can you imagine growing up like that, living a lie before you even knew what truth was? Ted later discovered the truth about his parentage, and some say this revelation left a deep psychological scar. But even before that, people around him noticed that Ted was different. Kids in his neighborhood remembered him as shy but also unsettling. One childhood friend once said, Ted had this strange habit of spying on people. It was like he was practicing for something we didn't understand back then. Despite this oddness, Ted excelled academically and was considered a bright young man with a promising future. He attended the University of Washington, where he studied psychology. On the surface, Ted was everything society valued: educated, articulate, and handsome. But beneath that polished exterior, a darker side was brewing. The start of a killing spree. Ted's killing spree officially began in the 1970s, though some suspect he started earlier. His first confirmed victim was Linda Ann Healy, a 21-year-old college student from Seattle, Washington. Linda was kind, ambitious, and well-liked, traits many of Bundy's victims shared. It was January 31, 1974. Linda had spent the evening hanging out with friends before heading home. She went to bed that night, just like any other night. But by the next morning, she was gone. Her bed was neatly made, and her belongings were untouched, but there were signs of a struggle, a bloodstain on the mattress and drag marks leading to the door. Ted had lured her away, likely pretending to need help. That was his MO. He'd fake an injury, an arm in a sling, crutches, anything to seem vulnerable and harmless. Women would drop their guard, thinking they were helping someone in need. Little did they know, they were stepping into the clutches of a predator. Over the next few months, young women began disappearing at an alarming rate. Janice Ott, Denise Naslund, Brenda Ball, names that, at the time, were simply listed as missing. Authorities were baffled. There were no connections between the victims, no apparent motives. But Bundy was just getting started. The charm and manipulation. Ted's ability to evade capture wasn't just luck, it was strategy. He blended in. He was good-looking, charismatic, and confident. People trusted him. Even when witnesses described a man named Ted driving a Volkswagen Beetle near the abduction sites, no one could believe it was that Ted Bundy. After all, he was studying law, had a steady girlfriend, and seemed like an all-around good guy. Bundy's charm was his weapon. He manipulated everyone around him, from his victims to the police. And let's not forget the media. When Bundy was finally arrested in 1975 on suspicion of kidnapping, he used the media spotlight to his advantage. During interviews, he joked, smiled, and acted as if he were innocent. Reporters were fascinated by him, calling him intelligent and attractive, which only fueled his ego. But Ted wasn't just playing games with the media, he was manipulating the justice system too. At one point, he even acted as his own attorney, relishing the attention and control it gave him. This arrogance, however, would eventually lead to his downfall. The escapes and the horror of Florida. In 1977, while awaiting trial for the murder of Karen Campbell, Ted managed to escape custody, not once, but twice. Can you believe that? The first time, he jumped out of a courthouse window during a pretrial hearing. He was recaptured 6 days later. But the second time, he broke out of jail in Colorado and disappeared for nearly 2 months. And where did he go? Florida. Ted Bundy's time in Florida is where his evil reached its peak. On January 15, 1978, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. What happened next is almost too horrific to describe. Bundy brutally attacked 4 women in their sleep, killing 2 of them, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy. The scenes were gruesome, bodies beaten beyond recognition. But Bundy didn't stop there. Just hours later, he assaulted another woman, Cheryl Thomas, in her apartment, leaving her permanently disabled. It was as if Ted was spiraling out of control. The man who once planned his murders meticulously was now acting on pure impulse. And finally, that recklessness would lead to his capture. The trial of the century. Ted Bundy's trial for the Chi Omega murders was the first nationally televised trial in U.S. history. And boy, did Bundy put on a show. Acting as his own attorney, he cross-examined witnesses, argued with the judge, and even proposed to his girlfriend, Carol Ann Boone, in the middle of the proceedings. Imagine the audacity. A man accused of such heinous crimes using the courtroom as his personal stage. But that was Bundy, always seeking control, always trying to manipulate. Despite his theatrics, the evidence against him was overwhelming. Bite marks on Lisa Levy's body matched Bundy's teeth. Witnesses placed him at the scene. The jury deliberated for less than 7 hours before finding him guilty. In 1979, Ted Bundy was sentenced to death. But even on death row, he continued to toy with everyone. He confessed to more murders, sometimes offering details, other times withholding them as bargaining chips to delay his execution. Legacy of evil. Ted Bundy was executed in Florida's electric chair on January 24, 1989. Outside the prison, crowds gathered to celebrate, chanting, "Burn, Bundy, burn." But for the families of his victims, the pain didn't end with his death. Bundy confessed to 30 murders, but the true number of his victims remains unknown. Some estimates go as high as 100. Think about that for a moment. How many lives were forever changed because of one man's actions? Bundy's case left a lasting impact on criminal profiling and forensic science. He was one of the first serial killers to be studied extensively by the FBI, helping investigators understand the minds of such predators. But his story also serves as a chilling reminder. Monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes, they wear a friendly face and hide in plain sight. And that's the story of Ted Bundy, the man who fooled an entire nation while committing unspeakable acts of violence. What do you think made Bundy so dangerous? Was it his intelligence, his charm, or his complete lack of empathy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this episode intriguing, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Plunge into Crime. We've got plenty more deep dives into some of history's most infamous criminal cases coming your way. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and remember, evil often hides in the most unexpected places. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next episode.